Okay, we are live on Facebook.
Oh, you can barely see me.
I think you can see more than you think because
okay.
My chat things are rare.
Let's see. Well,
and
hi everyone.
We're live on YouTube.
We are live on YouTube.
In just a second, we're getting Twitter and Instagram going. So let me turn that off.
Twitter and Instagram. Here we go, Instagram. Here you guys come.
Right, so we've got Facebook, YouTube, Instagram.
We got Instagram. Oh, I'll get Twitter. Don't worry, Twitter's a bonus today. So.
Hey, Aaron. Hey, Laura.
Hey, Laura. Hey, Aaron. What's up?
So, I'm Margie Fink.
I'm Darren Fink, and this is another episode of our Monday Caregiver check-in. Yeah, go ahead with that. I'm gonna hit go live with Twitter here. Yeah, so we're with Transfiguring Adoption. We are a nonprofit program that seeks to help foster and adoptive kids by giving a hoot about their caregivers. And we set aside time every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to kind of check in with all of you and see how everyone's doing, whether you're a caregiver or a professional or just want to help foster adoptive families. We're checking in to see how everyone's doing, to help share advice and to help get answers to questions. This is your time. This is not Margie and I's time to gab. This is your time to share your advice and different things. So, yes.
All right.
So if anyone, ground rules, I guess, is if you have any advice or if you have anything that you want to talk about, or let's be honest, if you have anything that you have learned on the foster care adoptive journey and you think, hey, everyone knows about that, no, they don't. I promise, no, they don't. So if you think it's like the most mundane thing, like, hey, make sure kids go to bed at the same time every night. I bet you there's someone watching this, maybe not live, but there is someone at some point going to watch this that they didn't know that. And they didn't know why, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So go ahead, share your thoughts, suggestions. Take some time right now to hit that share button. We're actually going to be doing a giveaway. This is so, like, some stuff came in the mail, like, literally minutes ago. And I haven't even formulated a giveaway. So, like, while all of you guys are chatting with the lovely Margie, I'm going to be sitting here going, so how are we going to do this? But we are going to be giving something away to mail out to someone today. And I think if we can check our reserves, we might have something else we can give away next week. I'll have to check on that. Okay.
Sounds good.
So, but hit that share button now because we want as many people in here talking as possible and having fun with us. So I am going to check in over here. Take it away.
All right. So if anybody has any questions or anything like that, jump in. I'm going to just kind of talk until everyone kind of gets going here. One thing that I've been thinking about this week, so... oh,
I'm sorry. Should I tell them what we're giving away?
We actually talked about it a couple weeks ago, didn't we?
So what? I'll talk about it now. Sorry, I'm interrupting. So I'll talk about it real quick, and then as more people join in, and you guys are hitting that share button, we know everyone's hitting that share button. And this, by the way, is going to be for our YouTube and our Facebook folks. Just because Instagram, sorry, Twitter, sorry, we're not on there all the time. But these are for our regular folks on YouTube and Facebook to get in on. So we had multiples books sent to us from Jessica Kingsley Publishing. Actually, I don't know if it was all from Jessica Kingsley Publishing. We had from different sources anyways. Sent us multiple copies of the book, The Mermaid Who Couldn't. The fantastic thing is Jessica Kingsley Publishers is including this. If you know about our Best Foster Parent in the U.S. Award, they also gave us a copy to include in our giveaway package for that. But we have an extra, we have a copy that we're going to review, and then we have this extra copy that's just going to be sitting around in our office collecting dust, unless you want to take it home. And we'll mail it out to you guys, and you guys can use this in your family. So keep watching, and later on, as we're getting toward the end, I will tell you how you can win this, and we'll mail it out to you. Okay, now promise, go.
Okay, So one thing I've been thinking about this week a little bit was, and I'm going to give you the backstory of why I started thinking about it. So some of you may have seen, I have been building in the last week or so a table for our new house, a dining room table, because before we moved, we decided that a lot of our furniture, it was going to cost us more to move it than to build something new when we got here. And a lot of it, frankly, has been through about 16 years or more of abuse. So we kind of just said,
really
let's just see what we can get when we get down here. So I decided that I wanted a dining room table that could fit a lot of people. With a family of 6, you know, it's hard to fit your own family around the table, even if, you know, just the grandparents are there. So, you know, we've had to kind of limit the last 5 years, birthday parties and things like that, to lower numbers, you know, because just our family takes up the whole dining room table. So we have a little bit more space in our dining room here. It's open concept, so there's a little more space. And I decided I wanted to make like a 10-foot table that would easily fit 12 people. Because, you know, if we have one other foster adoptive family, we still might not fit.
We're done. So, no one can come over.
So I decided I was going to make a table. So I kind of found some plans online because I started looking at prices for a 10-foot table, and insane, like $1,500 easy, closer to $2,500, $3,000 for a lot of them. So I decided I'm just going to make it. So I built a table, and now the table is in the dining room, and we don't have any chairs yet. So I kind of started thinking about the chairs, and I made a prototype, and I decided that's what I'm going to do, is this certain chair. And one of my friends said, hey, have you thought about benches? And I said, well, yeah, actually I have. And I said, that would probably be faster and easier. You know, a lot of times those longer farm tables, they have a bunch and maybe 6 seats or 2 benches and, you know, a chair on each end. And so I said, yeah, I really thought about that. It'd probably be a little bit cheaper, a lot faster, and a lot easier. But, you know, with our kiddos, we've got kids who fidget a lot. And, you know, frankly, Erin says, good looking table. Thanks. I love it. I'm so excited. We're letting it cure for like, it's supposed to sit, you know, for like a week. So we're not using it yet. So it's just kind of sitting there. And everybody's like, when can we use it? One of my friends said, hey, why don't you make benches? And so, yeah, so a couple of our kids fidget a lot. You know, one of the kids, if you're sharing a bench seat in the car, you're next to each other in a movie theater, there's just so much wiggling and movement going on that, frankly, it can drive somebody insane. And so it's a lot better. And just in general, it helps our kids to kind of have their own defined personal space, you know, have that bubble space and their boundaries. So that I'm going to make chairs. And so one of the comments I made in that process of saying I'm not going to make benches, I'm going to make chairs, is just that I can take the energy and the time and everything and invest that up front, or kind of face the consequence of kind of just that, you know, what's going to happen if I don't invest now in making individual chairs, is that people will be, you know, bickering, and it's going to be, you know, kind of annoying. And so I wanted to kind of upfront do that. And I started thinking about kind of this foster care and adoption journey. There are a lot of times that there are things that we do that we could, you know, invest time or money or energy in the beginning in certain areas, or we kind of pay for it later if we don't. Mm-hmm. You know, and as you know, we're like almost a decade into this journey, and I look back and I know there are things that I think, man, I was so tired, but I wish I had done this earlier, because this thing might have maybe not gone on for so long. And, you know, so I was kind of posting that as thinking of that as a question, and maybe we can share that just as caregivers, what are some of those areas where maybe it's an action, or you know, there's different areas that this would apply to, a certain action or a certain service or whatnot, that it's kind of the investment of whether it's time, energy, money, something kind of more upfront that in the long run helps our kids.
So what you're asking us is, what's something that might be a little painful now, mm-hmm. but it's worth going through the pain.
Yeah. Whether that be investing more time or investing more energy or even money kind of up front.
I think it's interesting thing that you ask, because I was just talking with a gal that works with chiropractic offices, and she has this passion to make sure that caregivers are given like drastic discounts on chiropractic service, because we can't get that with the medical cards. Like Medicaid won't cover it, and yet it's something that our kids would benefit our kids. And so we actually had this talk about how it's something where you need to like look into it and be like, it's an investment up front, and like, do you really need, who's going to be willing to make that investment up front, as it'll be helping kids in the long run. So I think chiropractic services, like, I think that's money. Like, if you can find the money, I think that's something in the long run, because I think we've seen benefits from that. I think there are various, like, other, I mean, I think it depends on your kid. I think there's like some things that would really, like, equine therapy, like horse therapy, I think is really good. Yeah.
Well, and I'm thinking even just times where I look back and I think I was really tired, and maybe I should have invested a little more time with a kiddo that would have helped their attachment faster, or things like that too.
Like, what do you mean?
Just, I don't know, like times when maybe I should have spent a little bit more time doing bedtime stories or something like that.
And you were exhausted at the time.
Yeah, like I was exhausted and I didn't want to do it, and I didn't do it. And I kind of think, well, maybe if I had done that, it would have kind of in the long run helped with the connection or something. But you were talking about the chiropractic, and one thing we were talking about earlier, we did for a little while chiropractic, and we kind of sacrificed in some other areas to do that for a little while. Kind of wish we could. I had a kid today that probably 5 times has complained about not going to the chiropractor for a long time, and how she wishes, oh, I just gave it away. When you have one girl, you kind of, you slip and then oops. Yeah, but she's been complaining all day, like, I really wish I could go to the chiropractor. It really helped. But one of our kiddos, we noticed, it was so interesting, because one of the things you talk about a lot with kids who've been through just trauma, or some of the things that our kids go through with, and having delays or sensory processing disorders, kind of a lot of the left brain, right brain connection, like the hemispheres aren't connecting, they're not talking to each other. And one incredibly crazy thing we saw with one of our kids was, and we know they have problems kind of crossing the midline. There's a lot of like on what I'm talking, like go way deep in the science, like message me later. But there's a lot of just issues with this kiddo, the brain, different sides of the brain connecting. And so that plays out in different ways and different skills. This child can talk about a math problem and can logic it out and talk about it in class. And math teacher said the skills are there, but getting it to the paper, there's kind of some of that getting it crossed over and getting it down on paper is really difficult. So this child has a lot of just issues with that, the hemispheres talking. And we noticed that, so when we would go to the chiropractor, we would, you're face down and there's a little hole, you put your face in the little hole. And this child, one of the things the chiropractor would do is tap the side of a foot, and then you would turn your head to that side, and that helped the chiropractor determine areas that needed alignment and a little bit of help. And so this child, when we would watch, the chiropractor would tap one side of, a foot, and the child would turn the head the other way. So if she tapped the right foot, he would turn to the left. If the left foot was tapped, it would be opposite all the time. And then she would make one adjustment, and then when she would do it again, it's like it would correct. And so the child, instead of, when she tapped the right foot, he didn't turn left, he actually turned right. And it just one adjustment every time. It was kind of helping. And that can play out and help that child in so many ways if we can work on getting the brain to cooperate and work correctly.
I think like in the summertime, I think there's a lot of time for investment. And I think it's hard for us working parents because you're just tired after the workday and you don't want to put the investment in, but your kids are there. And like, I think a lot of times too, like they're not going to be that age forever, and they're not going to want to be around you, and they're not going to want to like, and just even with our kids today, like there's, you know, like some of our kids like are constantly asking me for help or like wanting to be around me and different things like that. And it's just like one of those things, like they're not going to be wanting to do that forever, because they're going to have their own lives and they're going to go on the way it should be. And so I think there is an investment that you can teach them, and just remember to slow down and like do different things with that. So
sometimes it's just a proximity thing, you know, because I was working on some projects today for Transfiguring Adoption, and you know, I had one child that was wanting to be near, and so I was able to. Thankfully, I was doing things that I was doing inventory, where I could bring the child alongside me and we could work together, and it really helped kind of give that proximity and that closeness and being able to work together instead of just saying, no, I can't be with you right now.
So what are good, what do you think are good summer or just anytime projects for like when you have that kid that wants to be, like obviously if you're doing like accounting or something like that, you're not going to be like, yeah, pull up a chair, we'll do some accounting together.
But see, some of it's proximity, like, so, you know, maybe if the child likes coloring or something like that, and you're working on accounting, but you could like sit side by side, and so you're working on different things, but it's just that proximity, that closeness.
But what do you guys think are good activities for like if you're doing something, like even take the whatever proximity, but like what are some good like activities to do with your kids where you can say, hey, like you can come to them when you make time and you're like, this is what we're going to do right now. Like what are good one-on-one activities or even like group family activities? Because I think you found, like talking about the table that you made, I think you found that making the table like was a good activity. Like what, like, so what are good, what do you guys think?
Are a little bit bigger, so they're kind of getting to an age where I can start teaching them things, and it's been kind of fun because it's like life skills that maybe later on they could use. You know, being able to sand and cut. And well, I haven't let them cut.
But I guess that's why, well, I mean, we have an 18 and a 19-year-old, so we definitely can do that. But like what are, I guess that's why I'm asking people here, like what are good activities that would be for like, maybe a lot of people have younger children, like what are activities that it's like, I mean, is it cooking? Is it watching TV? Is it like, what is it? Is it reading together? Is it going somewhere? Like, what are those? And I think sometimes the household activities are good too, like chores or different things like that. So what do you guys think are good activities to bring your kids alongside with you and to have that time? And I do think some of them are chores. I think sometimes it's, hey, we're going to clean the bathroom together because they need to learn that stuff. But at the same time, it's with you and they don't maybe get all that time all the time. So I don't know. I'm curious about that, what other people think of that. I would love for some people to chime in on that. And just a reminder too, for those of you that are watching live on Facebook and YouTube, we are going to be giving a copy of The Mermaid Who Couldn't away later on. So keep watching and stay with us to the end for that. So, all right. So I don't know, what are some other activities that you found have been really great?
You know, I never can think of things when you ask me.
I know.
Like, I think of like 500 things like in an hour, but.
Well, like you had to do inventory today. You said that inventory was great. Why was that so good?
Because it was a task that, I mean, honestly, like I worked from 8:45 till like 4:55, and real quick ran up here and got my computer set up. But just all day working on inventorying both merchandise that we are using to fund Transfiguring Adoption projects, and also some donations that we've had come in. And that inventory has really taken me all day. And had the kids not kind of pitched in with that, like it would have probably taken me all tomorrow too. I'm almost done. So.
Fantastic.
But cooking together, which is honestly like one of the hardest ones for me.
Why?
Just for some reason, like cooking is kind of one of those it's not really me time, but it's kind of one of those things that I like to just get in and get it done on my own. But it's a skill that they need to have. So
interesting.
Another thing that we've, looking back, you know, we kind of were inconsistent and we could have done better at. We were doing some just simple like brain integration therapy activities at home with the kids, and they loved it, and we could see it really helping them. But we were just really inconsistent because we were tired, and it's hard to be therapist and parent. But a lot of those things, again, it's a matter of, it's not necessarily covered by insurance, or, you know, they only cover for so long, and the kids really needed longer term. So.
Okay, but you use some big words there, at least for me anyways. Hey, adoption option. So brain integration therapy. So like you're saying that's a great thing to do with kids. Why? What is that, and why is it a good thing to do with kids?
So again, that's kind of what we were talking about with the hemispheres of the brain. The left brain and the right brain are kind of responsible for different things, and they need to connect in order to do certain skills, certain subjects, that kind of thing. I'm trying to think, there's even a lot of physical things where we call it crossing the midline, you know, or your eyes being able to track objects back and forth, kind of focus. So there's a lot of things where the brain kind of has issues with processing because the brain is not integrated. So it's not working together as one unified brain. It's like separate pieces. And so brain integration therapy is a lot of just like fun exercises. Some of it's physical, some of it's, you know, they do some tracing on the paper, making big figure eights and things. And it helps to connect some of that and kind of get the brain talking to itself the way it's supposed to. So it's really helpful. It's not just for kids who've been through trauma, but there's a lot of sensory processing disorders or different kind of things, you know, even just focus. ADHD kids, it can be, there's certain areas that brain integration therapy can really help. So it was something that we were doing at home and we were doing really well, and the kids loved it, but we just got tired and inconsistent. And it's, you know, when you're not doing something like that.
Well,
regularly,
but I'll push back on that because
that's something like I'm saying, like it's an investment of time, energy, and or money that helps, you know, helps healing more quickly or helps further issues down the line. For those of you who have just joined in, I made this analogy of this farm table that I'm making at the house. And I decided instead of benches that I was going to make all individual chairs because it was going to be more time and energy up front. But in the long run, I could see where there'd be issues if everybody was sharing a bench just with personal space and with fidgeting and people driving each other crazy, that just kind of having those defined boundaries would be really helpful. So I decided to make 12 chairs instead of, you know, 2 farm benches and 2 chairs for the ends or something like that. So it's kind of like what areas of the foster or adoptive journey is there's something time, energy, or money wise that you can invest up front that alleviates or prevents issues down the line. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And just so everyone knows too, this is the reason we keep pausing in here is because we're hoping that you guys will jump in here and give us some advice or some suggestions.
Your ideas.
Different things. Adoption Option says, wow, I have no idea why you said wow, but I'm glad you said wow on Instagram. Me too. Wow. That's a lot of knowledge there that she just gave. Yeah, so use this time and if you have any suggestions or thoughts, again, I promise you, like a lot of people get on here and I know they say they don't want to say, like they tell us they don't want to say anything because they think everyone already knows everything or whatever. And I promise you they don't. I promise you people that are watching this later, even if they couldn't watch it live, we are in summer.
There are times where people say something like, oh, we did this. And I think, why didn't I think of that?
Right.
And I'm just like, they're really simple things that sometimes just in the moment you're not thinking about.
Yeah.
And it just helps to kind of bounce ideas off each other and help each other out. Integration therapy for ADHD. Yes. I'll get that book and talk about that sometime. One of the ones.
So what is that?
I think we actually reviewed it.
Oh, by the way, for everyone watching it, so on Instagram, the adoption option said integration therapy for ADHD.
I'm stuck.
Yeah, we'll have to get the book later. Oh my goodness. So tell us about it, though. Integration therapy for ADHD.
Well, that's why I want to get it, because I want to tell you about it, because my brain kind of right now is on other things. So
okay. Well, anyways, so I totally lost my train of thought now. Good job.
You're welcome.
Oh! Yeah, I'm totally what adoption option said. Didn't know what. I don't even know what.
Didn't know that.
But didn't know that. Oh, okay.
Integration therapy for ADHD.
Oh.
Now, there's certain like blocks in the brain, and I forget like the therapy manual. Let me see if I can find it on the blog. Multitask. Actually had a good. I screw you both up. Yes. It's not hard to do.
No, it's not hard to do at all.
Especially
get to 5. I was gonna say get to 5 p.m. in the day, and we're both just like. So you want to see that face again? That face was. We're both just like, we're gonna go down to dinner after this, and the kids, we're both gonna be comatose, and they're both gonna be like, "What was the show we were just watching?" Oh, it was Peter Rabbit, and then Mr. McGregor passed away, and Peter goes in there touching his eyeball, and he's like, "Yep, he's dead. I felt brain." I just think about that with our kids. Like, there are probably times I'm sitting like down at the dinner table, and I'm so tired, and they're probably just like. And they're like, "Yep, I felt brain." They're like, "He's done." And then Peter, the ambulance comes and takes him, and he's like, "It's okay." He's like, he's gone on to a better place in that ice cream truck with the flashing lights. Oh, good times. So anyways, Margie's looking up the brain integration for ADHD.
No, I'm just looking at
brain
the
integration. Oh, you're looking it up.
It.
She's checking that out and looking that up. But in the meantime, if you guys have any suggestions, so the question was put out, are there any big investments, like those of you, especially those of you who have done foster care and adoption a little while, like, is there anything that upfront you need to do with your kids, like that is somewhat of an investment of time, energy, maybe money, that you're like, yes, that's what we need to do that, or other parents need to do that because it just makes such a difference in the long run. And you're just it's just gonna be so much better for you in the long run. Is there anything else that you can think of? That's what we want to know. If you're watching live, we'd love to hear it now. If you're not watching live, leave it in the comments, because we definitely look at the comments later. And again, go ahead and hit share and share this out and let other people know that you're watching this, so we can have more people in on the conversation. I haven't figured out how we're going to do it yet, but we are going to be giving away a copy of The Mermaid Who Couldn't, which came to us from our friends at Jessica Kingsley Publishing. They sent us an extra copy, so we're going to send this happy mistake on to you so that you can use it with your family. I think what I might do is, because we're about halfway done, I think what I might do is we're going to be doing it for our YouTube and our Facebook friends. So I think if you share that you're watching us, I'll go ahead and I will check the comments for, if you're watching on YouTube, I will check the comments. And if you're watching live on Facebook, for the book, I think I'll check the shares, and I think I will randomly choose someone that has shared that they're watching, or someone that's commented that they're watching on YouTube, and we'll send this out to you. So, yay! Does that sound good? That sounds fantastic. Oh, you should share that. You should share the link. Share the link, Margie.
Okay, I put the link on Facebook. How do I get
you did that?
Twitter?
For
Instagram.
You mean for YouTube?
No, because.
Oh, you can't do it. Sorry.
Okay, so if you go on our website, transfiguringadoption.com/whatever, or just go on there and look search for brain integration therapy manual. It gives our book review. And I don't think I really talked a whole lot in the review about ADHD, specifically because but I'll have to look at the book and have it next week, because I don't see anything in my review that talks specifically about ADHD.
Adoption Options on Instagram, Adoption Option says we have 2 that have ADHD. They have to post checklists for them so they remember things. That's funny because we actually have a child that the teachers have to do that at school, and they say it actually works really well because the kiddo likes checking off the tasks and like comes to rely on that and really like thinks big stuff because I get to check off the stuff on the, like, it's just like
well, and sometimes, like, I've heard just in different areas, a lot of times we need to let our kids have the satisfaction of completion. There's just something that happens in the brain with being able to say that you've completed a task, and if you're going from one thing to the next and they don't ever feel like they've completed it. And that actually helps for transitions, because transitions are really hard for our kids. And if they don't feel like they've completed it, whether it's in their head, their own thing of what they were trying to do with the Legos or whatever, the transitions can be really hard for them. And sometimes they just need that ability to feel like they've completed something. So that checklist could actually be, you know, all the good sciencey stuff. So let's see. So I'm looking at my review, and so it helps with brain connection, dramatically increases connections between the right and left hemispheres of the brain. It helps processing problems, eliminate processing problems that prevent your child from learning easily. Learning skills significantly improve your child's skills in reading, handwriting, and ability to process verbal information. Why brain integration therapy? Brain integration therapy corrects dyslexia, dysgraphia, auditory processing, and visual processing. Praises when they complete things is so important. Adoption Option says, so true. Yeah, I will get that information for you. I'll like look at that back again and why in particular brain integration therapy helps ADHD. But it does.
Okay. Fantastic. I think the brain, like we're talking about checklists. I think checklists are like just like little things like that that help our kids. That takes more time for us and more energy, but in the long run, it's so much better for you.
Yeah. I mean, even this morning, so in our new kitchen, we have an island, and it's got 4 cabinets, 2 on each side. And I was in Aldi and found a $7 can of chalkboard paint. And I was like, I could paint the inset part of those 4 cabinets with the chalkboard paint. And like, I had kids this morning thanking me for it so much, because this morning I got up and I wrote chores, and I put each person's name, and I put what I want, like tasks that I wanted them to complete today. And then like one thing is a menu, which is another thing. Our kids really have this need to know, like to be able to predict, to know what's happening. And so they'll get stressed out even, and this is just something with kids who've experienced trauma or neglect, abuse. They have a hard time if they don't know what's coming. And there's a lot of food issues too. And so that can be a lot of stress for them if they don't know what we're eating. And so just having a menu on one, a chore list on one, have a shopping list so they can, you know, go on there, get the little chalk marker and, you know, hey, we need more cereal, or hey, we need more of this. They're just super excited about it, and it's helpful for them. And this morning, you know, they all kind of just saw while they walked into the kitchen for breakfast that they each had a list of things that I wanted them to complete today. There were a couple things that I had to, like, you know, kind of say, did you do this? And we had to go back. But for the most part, it took a lot. It was that upfront. It took me a few minutes to write it all out. But then all day, I didn't really have to address it. You know, it's just like, hey, check the list. There's tasks there. There's things there that I want you to complete. And they were like, cool. And they knew, you know, once they got done, it would kind of be free time. So
hey, we need to catch up here because Laura, I don't know if Laura, I hope Laura, are you still there? I hope you are. Like the comments on Facebook have been lagging or something, and all of a sudden all these things just popped up from Laura. Laura says, I'm pretty new to this world, a few months. I'm in a group home setting, multiple teenage boys. I'm learning every day. I'm here for all the advice. So, okay. So what books or podcasts do you recommend for foster care wisdom? Well, I know this great nonprofit that has...
Yeah, so I don't know, Laura, if you've seen our book list. You know, there's book lists for kids, but there's also our adult grown-up book lists. And so they are searchable, and we review them as we get a hold of them. And so some of them we actually have reviews for, and so you can kind of go on there and see what we thought about the book before you invest in it. But I will say just like some of the ones that lots of foster and adoptive parents will say, I wish I had this before. The Connected Child by Dr. Karen Purvis, Karyn, and then Purvis is Purvis, is a top-notch one. Another set of two that are really great is Adopting the Hurt Child by Keck and Kupecki. They are, and I should actually I will go back and reply and actually put those down. But Adopting the Hurt Child by Keck and Kupecki, don't just take it that it's just about adoption. It's not. It's really just parenting in general, a child who's gone through something that's not your biological child. So it really goes through in Adopting the Hurt Child. What are different behaviors that you'll see that could be problematic, and goes through kind of the whys. And then Parenting the Hurt Child by Keck and Kupecki, it was kind of a follow-up because I actually have an interview on the site with Regina Kupecki, which is one of the authors, and it's actually written by two professionals in the field, and they talk about problems in the system, and just they're excellent books. They're just absolutely wonderful. The first one gives you a lot of the whys and the whats, and the second one, Parenting the Hurt Child, is a lot more of the practical strategies. I mean, you get a little bit of that in the first book, Adopting the Hurt Child, but those probably, I would say, those three, from my experience, are like some of the top-notch best reads, ones that across the board foster and adoptive parents say these are kind of should be on everyone's shelves. Right, for sure. I think so too. And I think it depends on, obviously it depends on what age group that you're dealing with. There's just so many, but the book selection I feel like is getting better all the time. But our book list, we really are trying to put out stuff where you feel like you're getting quality, because books aren't cheap. They're just not. And the library doesn't always carry what you need. So yeah, I think we try to really put out our grading system and stuff like that. And we train our volunteers that help us on our grading system so that they can help you guys figure out what's quality and what maybe not be so great for your family, and not to spend the money. Our Hoot system, so we have a 1 to 5 Hoot system. So it's like Rotten Tomatoes, if you've ever used that for looking at movies to see if movies are going to be good to watch or not. And so our Hoot system is on a scale of 1 to 5 Hoots. A 3, that's what we try to have to educate people to get past, is a 3 is actually good. That's like our baseline. That's a good book. A 4 is pretty much out. That's when we start telling people, yeah, why haven't you bought that book already? 3, you might consider just getting it from the library, but we're probably going to say, no, you probably need to buy it. And a 5, our 5 Hoots on our book list, the book has to relate and help foster and adoptive families directly. So it pretty much has to be talking to the foster adoptive audience. So a 4 doesn't necessarily mean that it's not a top-notch book. It might just be that our system is based more on the direct impact on foster care and adoption, whether it's helpful. So a 4 might be an excellent book on trauma, but it doesn't necessarily connect it to foster care and adoption.
Right.
Or something like that.
It might actually be the best.
Yeah.
It might actually be the best seller for the summer. Like it might be, but we only give it a 4. And it's not because we disagree with the New York Times or like the New York best-selling list or anything like that. It's just that it doesn't have anything to do. It's not going to impact your foster adoptive family, so it's going to gauge down. So,
and our grading system is explained on transparencyadoption.com.
But the 2s and the 1s are the ones where we're starting to say, well, I mean, like a 2, you can get it at the library for free and see if it works for you. A 1 is pretty much, well, just don't even waste your time. But
and particularly like if we see a book that just absolutely, in terms of a kid's book, if we see a kid's book that absolutely would not be a good idea to read with a child who's been through trauma or, you know, through foster care or adoption, that's generally going to be the ones.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think, as far as like with group homes, I don't know what your situation is with group homes. I have advice on that, but I don't know exactly I don't know where to go with that. So I would love, if anyone's watching this, if you are dealing with a group home situation, to let us know, how do you handle group homes? What do you do when you have children that are in group homes? You're visiting kids that are in group homes, or you're having to consider putting your child into a group home. Or you work at a group home. Yeah.
Yeah, I know one of the things, I'm trying to think on our list, one of the only things that I remember having directly talking about group homes would be Short Term 12, which is a movie.
Definitely not a kid's movie.
And it's not a kid's movie. It just kind of gives you insight into sometimes some of the residential and short term, being that it's supposed to be short term and it often isn't short term. But yeah, I'm not thinking of any books that I've read offhand.
I can't think of any books either that deal with that.
But those other books are going to deal with the behaviors that you would see in children and kind of some of the how to.
I think that's what it comes.
Work.
I think it comes back to basically the basics of like when you're talking group home, and I would I'd love to hear what other people think about this. I think the basics of when you're talking about kids that are in a group home, I think it all goes back to the basics. Like they all need their basic needs met. It's just like our kids and like any kiddo, like they need their basic needs met before you can really start helping them do anything. And then they've been through trauma, so they just have special needs that have to be met because their brains are a little bit rewired.
Right. They have lower like stress tolerance. They tend to their blood sugars get more easily affected. They get more easily dehydrated. There's a lot of things like, you know, that if you've ever seen Maslow's hierarchy, it kind of, you know, the basic needs have to be met before you can get to some of that, the higher learning and that kind of thing. Safety and food and water and shelter and that kind of thing is kind of things that have to be met first. And a lot of times kids who've been through trauma, there's things, you know, if you talk to some of the experts, and school is not helpful for this, but there's things like you need to be making sure that they're staying hydrated. You need to make sure that they are getting something with protein, or, you know, they need a snack every couple hours because their blood sugar tanks more easily. And they have just lower stress tolerances. So anything, you know.
Which, by the way, you can work with the schools on that, though.
Yeah.
Like the schools will work on that.
It's just a little bit harder because a lot of times, especially as kids get older, sometimes they are in school maybe 5-6 hours and never, you know, they don't have snack time. They don't have, you know.
Right, but doctors will write. I mean, I know the doctors will write notes and they will allow a kid to have snacks and water and stuff like that in the classroom. So, I think with the group home situation, they're going back to what I was saying. I think, so like, I feel like they need to have those basic needs met. And I feel like kids that have unfortunately had to go on and be in group homes for whatever reason, for a little bit more intensive care, they're the kids that just weren't caught early enough, and they didn't have their needs met for so long that things have just kind of spiraled out of control. And so the home is kind of like a place where they're going to have to get that under control and under wraps so that they're safe to reintroduce into the family unit again.
It depends on sometimes group homes are used solely because there just aren't enough foster homes.
Right, that is true too. Yeah. So I don't know. Those are 2 cents.
Different states are different, so.
There's our 2 cents on a very broad and complex topic. So Yeah, there's more that probably doesn't represent it well at all, but we could go into that if we know more specifics. But anyways, I'll say again, I think, and we'll give it 5 more minutes. If you are watching on YouTube, if you are watching on Facebook, if you want to share that you're watching this, or comment that you're watching this on YouTube, if you comment, Facebook, if you share, we are going to be giving away The Mermaid Who Couldn't. I'm going to do that here in a few minutes here. So yeah, make sure that you share that out. It's a very neat book. The book is like, I haven't even gotten to review it yet. We actually got our review copy in the mail a few minutes before we started this, and I'm really excited to start it.
And for those that weren't here, I don't know, a week or two when we actually talked about the book, the back says, "I am a useless mermaid," Mariana thought. "I can't do anything." Mariana is not like the other mermaids. Abandoned by a careless mother on the ocean floor, she has never laughed or played. She can't sing and can barely even swim. Then she meets a turtle called Muriel, who welcomes her into her family and shows her all the things she can do. Written for children aged 4 to 9 and beyond, this picture book shows how children who lack confidence can learn to find a sense of self-worth. And we were talking about this. Actually, we had a therapist that said a lot of times with our kids, they haven't been able to kind of figure out that making a mistake, being fallible, like that we are human and we make mistakes, does not make you totally useless or unlovable. There's kind of this, like, I'm either lovable and I don't make mistakes, or I'm not lovable. And so one of the things that this therapist would talk about is just kind of helping the kids to kind of disconnect that and help them understand that mistakes don't make them unlovable. And we were actually talking about this with our kids the other day, because there's just this tendency of, you know, if you use constructive criticism when you're saying, hey, if you do it this way, it's easier, or hey, maybe you missed a spot when you were cleaning the floor, that kind of thing. That a lot of times our kids have a hard time taking that, because it kind of in their brain, it goes to, well, I'm wrong.
Right.
I can't do anything right. And that's kind of this book. I can't do anything. I'm useless. And helping them understand. We had a big talk actually about it this weekend. We sat them down and said, hey, if we're telling you that you need to do something better, we're not saying that, it's the quality of your work. It's not you that's
and
wrong.
You're learning. So that's okay for that.
And that this is a learning process, and being able to take constructive criticism and work on that, and not just kind of blocking it out and saying, I'm okay. It's going to help them in their jobs. And our kids are kind of all getting to that training period of preteens and teens.
Yeah, it's definitely trying to take them from saying, like, they definitely want to say, our kids want to say, I'm a failure instead of I failed. Like, and we know as well, and anyone, I was even telling,
internalize that. Like,
I was telling the kids today that they were talking about being uncomfortable. And I'm like, being uncomfortable is not a bad thing. In fact, everyone in history that's done anything amazing has been uncomfortable and scared. If you want to do something amazing in this world, you're going to have to be uncomfortable and scared. If you want to be comfortable, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with leading a comfortable life. You just probably won't have anything amazing happen unless you're willing to fail and be uncomfortable. And I think we had a good conversation about too, like a lot of famous people have failed, and it's okay to be
miserably.
It's okay to fail, because that's how we learn and that's how we get past things. But you just have to let yourself, we have let ourselves know it's okay to fail, but our kids have the problem of it's not okay for them to fail, because that means they are a failure. It doesn't mean that they just failed and they need to get better. It means that I am a failure. And how many times have our kids felt like that? Because they no longer live with their birth parents, so they probably feel like they're failures there.
Yeah, just
in general,
a lot of different things. Adoptees and foster kids, they have, they've felt abandoned or rejected. Sometimes because they truly have been abandoned or rejected, or sometimes it's just a perception of being abandoned or rejected, or not understanding the circumstances that they're in. And I totally lost my train of thought now.
Well, let's go ahead, and we are getting to the end of the time. So let's go ahead, and if you would like to win this book that we are giving away, The Mermaid Who Couldn't, and it's by, I never said who it was by. It's
Allie
by
Redford.
Allie Redford, and she's done some amazing books before. At least one that we have reviewed that was just amazing.
The Boy Who Built a Wall Around Himself.
The Boy Who Built a Wall Around Himself. Yeah, it's just so awesome. If you would like to win this, please, on Facebook, if you're watching live, we're only going to do this for people watching live on Facebook and YouTube. If you're watching, if you would comment on YouTube and just say that you're watching, and if you will share that you're watching this post on Facebook, I am going to put them on a list on my computer here, and I am going to randomly select someone, and we'll send it out to you. And if the person does not claim this, we'll give it away next week. Sound good? Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Fair enough. All right. Fair enough. All right, let's see. I'll give you guys a couple more seconds because I'm guessing there's some time there, that there's a bit of a lag between what I just said and catching up with you. Who's gonna win the book? I don't know. All right, let's see here. All right. Do we have any news that you need to share with people?
Did we share the winner of the Best Watch Print in the US last week? I don't remember.
We did, but go ahead and share it again because I don't know if
Hold on,
not
I'm
everyone was here.
share.
Oh, I was going to start putting stuff in.
Oh, sorry. Yvette Clark of Nevada won.
Okay. Fantastic. Yeah, Yvette Clark of Reno, Nevada won. She will be, she'll be winning a prize package.
All the nominees get certificates.
All the nominees.
And the other similar finalists get something, right?
Mm-hmm. And we have to give a thanks out to the Knoxville Lions Club, North Knoxville Lions Club, as they provided the award. We need to give a shout out to Jessica Kingsley Publishing and Adoption at the Movies, as they have provided books, and they will be getting some Transfiguring Adoption merch. But yeah, hopefully Yvette will make this a good day for you if you are watching. And congratulations for being named Best Foster Parent in the U.S. And we're going to be doing, this is an annual contest, so next May we will be throwing this out again so you can get your nominations, and I am totally okay with you nominating the best. You better get a friend to do it. Come on. We're going to go ahead. Okay, let me go ahead and run this through. All right. So if you have shared or gone on here, let's see. We're going to give this book away. And Laura, it is Laura Purdy. Yay. Laura gets the book. So Laura, what I'll do is we're going to send this book out to you in the mail.
So she needs to probably email you.
She needs to email me or message me on Facebook, or Transfiguring Adoption on Facebook, rather. You can email info@transfiguringadoption.com. Put that you're the book winner and let us know an address that we can send this book out to you. If you have not emailed me or messaged Transfiguring Adoption on Facebook, by the next time we do the caregiver check-in, this book is going to be up for grabs next week. So we might have a giveaway. I think I'm going to scrounge around because I think through our moving and everything, I haven't gotten to look at inventory and stuff like that in a while. I think I might have another giveaway for next week too, you guys. So please share this. Let people know. We do this every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, this is your time. We do this for caregivers to check in, to talk. So the more people we have in here conversing, the more conversation we'll have, the more suggestions, advice, and more of your questions we'll get to. So definitely share this. Let people know that we're doing it. You can also comment on this not live, like if you're watching this Tuesday or Wednesday, and we will check back in the comments. We're alerted, and Margie and I will make sure that we answer you and get to watching. Jennifer Cardinal is on here, as is Shelly Jensen. Hey, you guys. You guys are awesome. But yeah, Laura, you won the Mermaid Who Couldn't book. You're amazing. Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for joining us today. Again, you guys watch again next week, because I think I have one other book. I can't promise. I'm pretty sure I have another book we're going to give away next week for someone to win. Things that we have going on right now is Transfiguring Adoption is just getting settled in. We are trying to get our volunteer mobilization under control here, because we have a lot of people that are wanting to do local things around the U.S. So we're trying to get that under handle and organized. So we haven't been doing as much, but we have some amazing resources and tips online that are coming out that you guys aren't going to want to miss. You are just so amazing, you guys. Thank you so much for watching today. If no one has told you today, as a foster parent, adoptive parent, you are doing an amazing job. You are more amazing than anyone could ever know. Even at your worst, I don't know if you're hitting rock bottom and that's why you're watching this today, you are doing more good than you think you are. And you are changing a child's life more than you think you are. So thank you so much for what you're doing. You're not told that enough. For the professionals and people that are just interested in this whole journey, thank you so much. There are not enough of you coming around, caregivers, to make amazing things happen. So thank you for watching and giving time. Share this out, you guys. I'm Darren Fink. This is Margie Fink. We're Transfiguring Adoption. We hope we are helping you to nurture and grow your foster or adopted family. Bye, you guys. Bye, Facebook. Bye, YouTube. I'm going to head out. Bye, Instagram. And YouTube. You've been great.